Hi, so this is an all-level practice that's focusing particularly on movements of the spine and how we can explore and find ways to move well with an awareness of the spine. So you might need a couple of blocks. So if you're at home, you can make yoga blocks out of some books, finding kind of quite fat ones about the same height, and a blanket might be handy as well. So we're going to start lying down. And just bending your knees, they can either drop together or have your knees hip width apart. And let's start by resting the hands somewhere on the belly area and just start to tune into breathing. So just feeling how your body breathes when you're relaxed. You could close your eyes if you like to. And perhaps connecting with the contact of your body with the floor, so from the soles of your feet, the back of your pelvis, and then the lower back's perhaps lighter on the floor. Feel the back of the shoulders, ground, and the back of the head. So feeling that contact, and then as you're breathing, just noticing if you can feel your hands moving up towards the ceiling as you inhale, and the hands dropping down into the body as you exhale. So if that's not what you're feeling so much, you can encourage that movement as you inhale, just pushing your tummy or the whole of the lower part of your torso up into your hands, just a small amount. And as you exhale, feel the hands drop back down. And then let's just take one hand up to the chest so you can feel your collarbones under your fingers. And same thing, just feeling your breathing and noticing the movement under the lower hand on the lower half of the torso and the movement under the hand on your chest. And does it feel about the same amount of movement, or does one hand feel like it's moving more than the other? And if you've been busying around and just suddenly come to lying down, you might feel that they're both moving as you are breathing a bit deeper. If you're feeling like the top hand is moving more than the bottom hand, that's just something to be aware of, and just start to encourage more movement into the lower hand. Inhaling the tummy up towards the ceiling and exhaling it back down again. And it might be helpful to think of how the diaphragm, the main breathing muscle, is moving as you lie down. So as you inhale, that dome-shaped muscle that sits under the rib cage starts to flatten down and widen. So it's pushing everything down. You get this expansion front, back and sides out as you inhale. And as you exhale, the diaphragm is going back into the dome shape, up above into the rib cage. So everything flattens down. The diaphragm pushes the lungs, the air in the lungs up. So with each inhale, just breathing into this sense of expansion. So we felt that at the front and the tummy area. Another way to feel it is to take the backs of your hands to the sides of your waist. Let your fingers go a little under your lower back, where there's that natural space. And then as you inhale, think of breathing sideways into the backs of your hands. So the side waist is expanding outwards, broadening. And then as you exhale, you can even push with the backs of your hands, feeling how the breath narrows the body. And then again, as you inhale, feeling the side waist widen, and maybe even feeling movement into the backs of your fingers and the backs of your fingertips as the back body expands. So we're starting to tune in that the inhale is this 360-degree expansion outwards, and as you exhale, you might feel it all soften back to centre. So last couple of breaths like that. From there, let's take the arms wide at shoulder height or a little bit lower, and feet a bit wider. On an exhale, letting the knees drop down to one side, keeping the feet wide, so you feel a little bit more movement through the legs. Inhaling the knees to centre, feet wide, exhaling down to the other side. If you like to, you can also turn your head in the opposite direction of the knees. So we're starting to feel the whole body rotating. And you could keep a sense of the shoulders planting down, the arms planting down, and feeling the movement coming from the ribs and the pelvis and the legs. So just some gentle rolling side to side. If you've been sitting for a while, this can feel really nice. And then coming back to centre, feet hip width. And just starting to feel the torso and the spine. So you can keep your arms by your side. I'm just going to take mine up so you can see. And letting the whole of the spine arch up away from the mat. And then press your whole back down into the mat. Just doing that a few times, just feeling how the spine can arch. And then feeling how the spine can straighten and you can flatten into the floor. So the spine is arching and then straightening, and also the pelvis is tipping forwards and back as part of that movement. Okay, then we're going to see how it feels to uncouple the movement of the pelvis from the rest of the spine. So we're going to keep the rib cage down. You could put your hands on your ribs to help do that. And then we're just going to move the pelvis. So it's a smaller movement as you make an arch in your lower back. You'll feel your two hip bones move towards the thighs and then flatten the lower back into the mat. So it's a smaller movement, the rest of the spine isn't joining in now, we're just moving the pelvis backwards and forwards. So as the lower back arches and the hip bones move towards the thighs, that's an anterior tilt to the pelvis. As you flatten the lower back into the mat, the hip bones feel like they're moving up towards the chest, that's the posterior tilt. Just feeling that a couple more times, and today we're going to focus a little bit more on this posterior tilt and how being able to feel that really helps us in loads of movements. Okay, and we're going to add on to that a bit. So finding the posterior tilt, the lower back flattens into the mat. Pushing through your feet, start to curl the tailbone up off the floor so the pelvis lifts up, and then keep going. Feel like you're peeling your spine off the floor bit by bit. It almost feels like the ribs are hollowing in, and then you get all the way up to the upper back. And then on the way down, pressing the spine bit by bit down into the mat. So seeing if you can feel each vertebrae gluing itself down onto the mat. And then when you get to the bottom, just let that natural lower back curve come back, relax for a minute. And we'll have another go. So pressing the lower back down, lifting up, pushing through the feet. You can squeeze the bum a bit and have a sense of curling up bit by bit. Once you get all the way to the top, you could reach your arms up, take the shoulder blades up off the floor so you can feel just the spine pressing down. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's vertebrae by vertebrae. It can feel like a chunk is landing on the mat. So you can go back up again a little bit, see if you can make it more of like a bike chain, each chain bit moving one by one, all the way down. Let's do one more like that, curling up. Almost tucking the bum under as we find that posterior tilt, all the way up. You could let your arms come up, you could float them over your head, or you could keep them up to the ceiling, shoulder blades pulling off as you roll down. And all the way back down and relax. And then coming back to just feeling that relaxed breathing through the whole lower half of your torso. Hug the knees in and rocking side to side or circling your knees. And keeping your inside edges of your feet together, let's pull the knees towards the chest, out wide, away from you and all the way back in again. So we're just circling the knees separately. And you might be aware of all the muscles around the tops of the thighs and feeling how we're circling the thigh bone in the socket there, just oiling the joints. And starting to feel the muscles a bit more after you've done a few. And then let's roll over and make our way to all fours. Okay, then from all fours, let's spread the fingers, and we're going to find a continuous movement of pulling the hips back and coming back up towards a tabletop position. So the hands could be further forward of the shoulders if that's more comfortable. Pulling back any amount and coming back up. So just giving your knees plenty of time to warm up. You might want to go all the way back, sit bones to heels, keeping your elbows straight. You might go back about halfway. So finding a range of movement that feels good. And then also we could find rhythm with the breath, exhaling back, inhaling through the nose to come forward. You could try pulling back a little bit more on a diagonal. You could breathe out through the lips and exhale more slowly, letting the head drop down. Let's do one more. And then from tabletop, just flick the feet off your mat, turn your head to look at your feet. So we're coming into a side bend, same to the other side. So you can feel the neck spine turning all the way down to the tailbone, spine making like a banana shape as you go side to side. And just see what you feel in your body as you do that. Just a little bit of side bending. And then coming back to centre. And just thinking of the spine in its parts again, just kind of as we did lying down. So can we isolate just the pelvis and move that? So keeping the head in line, watching that the head's not dropping or lifting up, just the back of the neck long. Watching that the shoulders aren't collapsed, so slightly pushing the mat away with your hands. And then from there, just tilting the pelvis forwards and backwards. So you're making a little arch in your lower back and then flattening out the lower back. And seeing how that feels without the upper back joining in as if it's a cat-cow movement. So it's just a smaller movement, tilting the pelvis. And again, we're focusing a bit more on the posterior tilt today. So that's when you feel like your lower back's flattened out, belly button lifts up, the two hip bones feel like they're moving towards your chest. Let the lower back arch again and then find that posterior tilt again. See how that feels. If you're not used to doing this, it can be hard to not let other parts of the body joining in. So we're really trying to isolate the pelvis so that we can control that part of the spine, the lumbar and the pelvis. Okay, and then from there we'll come up onto our knees. So let's just start circling the wrists, just warming up our wrists a little bit. And bringing the backs of the hands together, just making a straight line from elbow to elbow, pushing the backs of the hands into each other. And then we'll just start to pull the hands towards the face, make a flower, turn the hands away from you, and then get the index fingers touching and roll all the way back down. So we're trying to roll the hands, keeping the wrists in contact, part of the wrist in contact all the way around. We can change direction. So feeling the wrist joints, the elbow joints. Okay, give them a shake. Make fists, open your hands as wide as you can. Squeeze them in and widen them. Just doing that a few times. shake again. Turn your hands up, take a breath in and out. You can close your eyes if you like. And just from those few movements, just being aware of sensation from your elbows, down your forearms, into your wrists, the palms, the fingertips. Are you aware of any more sort of sensation or feeling there? Okay, and then we'll come back down to all fours. And from here we're going to come into cat-cow, but we're going to do it really segmenting the spine. So we're going to start at the pelvis. First of all, tucking the pelvis under, feeling the belly button lift in. So coming into that posterior tilt. And then feel the lower back, the lumbar spine moving up to the ceiling. Moving into the upper back. We're using all the musculature on the front body to help squeeze and push the spine up. We're not letting the shoulder blades join in too much. We're not trying to madly push the floor away. Just let the spine curl up between the shoulders. And then the last thing is the neck spine releases down. Maybe give it a little side to side movement there. Just release your neck spine. And then to come the other way, again we're going to start with the pelvis. So this time we're lifting the sit bones up. Feeling the pelvis tilt so that the belly button moves to the floor. The head staying down. We're just going to make our way along the spine so the lumbar drops down. And when we're coming into this extension of the spine, we're feeling the musculature along the back helping, squeezing along. So feeling each vertebrae one by one, kind of squeezing downwards and lengthening then the sternum forwards. Shoulder blades just stay as a frame until the neck spine lifts up. And let the neck be part of the movement. You don't need to crane the neck back to its maximum, just finding a natural lengthening forward. And then from there, back to the pelvis. Head doesn't move. We're moving the pelvis, tilting it back up. So it's pretty much what we were doing, rolling up through the spine, lying down. How does it feel in this position to articulate one vertebrae at a time? So now squeezing along the front body to round up, squeezing up through the lower ribs, all the way up. Shoulder blades just stay fairly still as a frame, let your head relax down. And then start at the pelvis again, keeping the head down. It likes to be the leader, but we want to move bit by bit. And the more we can segment the spine, the more we don't just hinge in the bits that it does move in. It means we can distribute the load of movement, the weight bearing of movement much more evenly through the spine. And we get more fluid movement generally. So it's a wonderful thing to practice. Okay, and then from there, just moving back, give your wrist a little circle again. And then bring one hand down onto the mat, turn it upside down. And we're doing that same circling of the wrist movement we did kneeling, where we keep the wrist in contact with the mat all the time, but we're circling it round. When you flip your hand over, you'll probably need to lean back into your hips a bit, come forward to turn the hand over. So we're circling around, getting lots of movement out of the wrist. And this is a little bit more, you get more sensation because you can push against the mat a bit more if you want to, and find a bit more movement from the wrist. You get more feedback. And then the other side. So the hands upside down, you're turning the fingers around, and then you need to flip your hand over, so you're leaning back, keeping the wrist in contact, turn your hand over, keep swiveling the hand the other way, hips come forward, you're back where you started. And then going the other way. If you haven't done this before, it might take a few goes. You just think of keeping the wrist in contact and turning it around. Okay, give it a little shake. Great for working at a computer, just keep all these tissues moving and having lots of blood flow to them. Okay, so back to all fours, and just take a few breaths to move around in the different ways we have. So it might be pulling forwards and backwards, it might be going side to side, a little bit of a side stretch. It might be rolling up through the spine with the head down, doing just a more relaxed cat-cow, just finding any movement you can. the tabletop position is just a great place to kind of move and feel your body in all the parts. Okay, I'm going to lean back into a child's pose position. So you can use something to sit on to widen the angle at your knees if that's more comfortable. And then from there we're going to isolate the upper back part, the thoracic spine, and just see how it feels to isolate that and find what movement we can there. So there's two ways. One way is to take the lowest ribs down onto your thighs, arms forward, palms towards each other a little, and then just relax down for a second, forehead to mat, or lowering it down, it doesn't need to touch the mat. And then we're going to start to lift up, keeping the lowest ribs in contact with the legs. Start to pull your forearms towards you. So they don't move, but you've got this dragging feeling. And as you do that, inhale and start to think of lengthening from your mid-back upwards to the crown of your head forward. So watch out for the neck trying to do it for you and lifting up. Crown of the head extends forward. So it's a small movement, but what feeling do you notice in your upper back as you over a few rounds of breath, just inhale and think of dragging the arms back, shoulder blades down, and pulling the sternum forward. And then relaxing again, and repeat. Coming up, dragging your forearms towards you, shoulders moving down, and feel like you're lengthening through the upper spine, through to the crown of the head. And that upper back, the thoracic spine, is not really designed to bend back much at all. So it's just more a sense of feeling all the muscles along that upper spine, supporting it and helping to find length. And as you inhale, just breathing a sense of breath through your sternum and chest as well. Relaxing down. So I'm just going to show you another position where that works, so that you can be more upright as well. If this really doesn't work for your knees, you can even just come a little bit higher up. And same thing, feel like you're dragging your hands towards you. And just finding that small movement of lengthening forward on the inhale. Crown of the head can extend. You can lift your chin a bit if you like. We're watching this note, not too much dip, it's just this lengthening through of the upper back. And then relax. Just move around a bit. Just see what you were feeling in that upper back part. Okay, and then while we're here, we're just going to warm up the shoulder joint as well. So pushing through your left hand, right thumb pointing to the ceiling, taking that arm up, keeping the rest of the torso as still as possible. Now we're going to take the arm up as high as we can, but if there's any discomfort in your shoulder, just take your arm more out to the side. That will be a gentler movement. So find what works without too much discomfort, but we're reaching up. And then once you've gone as high as you can or out to the side, start to rotate the palm to face away from you. So you're internally rotating the arm. Keep reaching up, keep rolling in. The back of the palm will spiral up to the ceiling. Pull behind you as if you're trying to grab something behind you. And then take the arm down. And you're still rolling your arm inwards. So it's twisting in, it's spiraling in. And the palm faces outwards. Inhale the arm up. As high as you can, and then spin the palm to face the ceiling, external rotation, reaching all the way up, feeling all the muscles around the top of the shoulder, and back down. Okay, let's try that one more time. So try not to let anything else move. Chest staying forward. So you notice you've really got to tone the front body and work to keep your torso facing that way. Okay, let's do the other side, reaching the thumb up. Adjust the arm out to the side as you need. Spin the palm to face behind you, internal rotation, reaching the arm all the way back. Taking the arm up as high as you can. Rotate, external rotation, palm faces the ceiling, putting your arm up and over. This great intense feeling around the shoulder, that ball and socket joint, getting loads of movement, loads of muscles, kind of working to support that joint. And all the way back down. Okay, just roll your shoulders a few times. tuck your toes under, slide your hands to your knees, and let's just roll on the toes a few times. If this doesn't work for your knees, we're heading to a forward bend, so you could go into your forward bend. And just widening the feet a bit more, and start to ground through your feet, come into a forward bend with bent knees. You could do that a few times, rolling down on the knees and coming up, just warming up all the joints of the lower half of your body. Letting your head relax down. And bent knee forward bend at this point is a good idea. So the pelvis can tilt forward when your knees are more bent, and you can let the whole of the spine round down, nod your head, turn your head side to side. So a bit of traction for the spine and the neck. Nice place to find breath through the back waist, the back ribs. You can roll your shoulders here, swaying a bit side to side. And then we're going to start to roll up. So find some engagement in the backs of the legs to support you, and start to slowly roll up. Let your arms be heavy. Feel the muscles in the front body helping to push the spine to the ceiling, all the way up, and head can come up last. Okay, let's go back, chin to chest, shoulders roll forward, arms can be heavy like a gorilla. Roll your way down using some front body strength, hamstring strength. All the way down, and one more time rolling up. And then standing up. Finding a few shoulder rolls here. Shoulder blades rolling to the sides of your back, as if you're a tree trunk, keeping everything still. Let the shoulders roll to the side, squeeze them up, squeezing back and down. And as slowly as you can to really feel all those upper back muscles moving as much as possible. Other direction. Okay, and then let's just take that roll to the side. So we're going to turn all the way to the outside edge of the right foot, bend the knees and start to slowly curl down. So you might need to lean forward a bit. Head all the way down. Just aware of the far side of your body as you come up. And over to the other side, bending your knees. Head down. Notice how the head likes to lead in all these movements. It tends to try and pop up. So see if that neck spine can be the last bit to unravel and unwind up. Okay, and then we're standing up. And then let's take our hands to the shoulders, bending your knees, let the chin drop to the chest, curling down, elbows down. And then lifting everything back up, elbows lifting, legs straightening, rolling the shoulders back, chin drops to chest. Bend your knees, curling. And as you do that, just one thing to be aware of is as you straighten up, what does your spine do? So it's easy to pop the chest forward, hinge in the mid-back. So can you find a more even sense of lengthening up through the spine, which will involve a bit of tone in the front to kind of control a lengthening up through the spine. Exhaling, curling. Inhaling, head up last, just finding that lengthening through the spine to quite an even curve as you come up. Let's do one more like that. And then let your arms swing and relax. And we're just going to find some rotation through the spine. So turning side to side. And as you do that, just let your arms completely relax. So they're just like heavy weighted pendulums, and just letting the body do the turning. So as you bend your knees to each side, you can feel the upper spine, the thoracic spine rotating a bit. As you come to center, just think of finding that lengthening up again, lifting your sternum up. And this is just a nice relaxed movement. I find it quite energizing to kind of feel that rotation and lengthening in a bit of a rhythm. then slowing everything down again. Coming back to the top of your mat, hands to your legs. Let's drop the chin, dropping the hands to the knees. And then from here, just letting the sit bones lift up, squeezing along the spine, looking forward. Shoulders can pull back, lengthening forward. And again, watching the head doesn't try and do that sense of lengthening forward for you. Let it come from the upper back. And then curling the pelvis under, letting the belly button round in, rounding through your spine, head dropping all the way down. And then let's do that again, starting at the pelvis, lifting the sit bones up, squeezing along the lower back, into the upper back. Shoulders might drop a little as you lengthen forward. And then moving the pelvis first, curling under, all the way down, head down. If this feels a strain on your lower back at all, maybe one is enough, you don't need to do too many. And then from there, just going to slide our hands down the shins, hands to the mat, knees really bent. Just feeling the head and neck relax again. Plant your hands down, and we'll walk back to a tabletop again, knees drop to the mat. And then coming on up onto your knees. And we're going to use 2 bricks for this. If you don't have bricks, if you're at home, books work really well. So if you can find 2 kind of fattish books of the same size. But we'd send some love to Italy and Spain as well. And take your right leg forward. Blanket for the back knee might be good. So it's all you really need at home would be a blanket, and some books can be handy. And taking the right leg forward. Okay, and then from this position, again we can start to feel pelvic position. So that might be a bit side to side, and then also finding that forwards and backwards movement. So can you tilt the pelvis in the lunge position without it being a whole spine movement? So again, we're uncoupling pelvic movement from the rest of the spine. It's a smaller movement. And the cue I usually give you is that bowl of water filled right to the brim, that's your pelvis. And so first you're tipping water out the front of the bowl, and then what we're looking for today is straightening that bowl up so there's no water tipping up. A squeeze to the bum on the back leg helps with that. And then you've got this hip extension joining in of this stretch through the back thigh and the straight line down the back leg. Okay, so the posterior tilt is the hip bones lifting up, squeeze to the bum, a more upright position through the body. And then when you're ready, reaching your arms up, reaching the fingertips as high as you can. And then connecting again to that breathing we did lying down, the sense that you're breathing right around your body. Holding that there, maybe reaching up through the left side a bit more. So you're feeling this connection from that left thigh and bum working all the way up through to your shoulders and arms and through to the fingertips. And then from there, just take your hands to the back of your neck and maintaining this feeling of muscular activity in the lower half of your body. Start to push your head into your hands into your head. You could lift the chin a bit, and using that resistance to take an inhale and have a sense of lengthening up through your upper back, through your sternum. So hardly anything will move, but as you breathe and push your head into your hands, can you find some more feeling in your upper back? That area, it's hard to breathe into sometimes, so see if that is an interesting feeling. And then let's take both arms up again, exhaling, hands down onto your bricks, tucking the back toes under, lift your back knee up, pushing through your front foot, perhaps curling your rib cage away from that front thigh. So you're feeling all that front leg working now. Bringing the back knee down, maybe going onto fingertips, lengthening the chest, the sternum forward again. Hands down, tuck toes, lift the back knee up, curling a little, exhale, back knee down, maybe fingertips, the shoulder blades can move down the back as the upper spine and the chest extend. And again, watching what the neck does, can stay comfortable, more of a reach through the crown of the head. Let's do a couple more. position again, tiptoes, and then how slowly can you take that leg back? Maybe doing that a couple of times, taking it back forward again, and all the way back again. A little bit of a balance thrown in, and then we'll swap sides. Okay, so again, moving the pelvis, finding the posterior tilt, no water tipping out the front, squeezing the glutes on the back leg, feeling the stretch there. When you're ready, stretching all the way up. Reaching the fingertips as high as you can, finding breath all the way around the body, and just seeing how that containment in the lower half in your legs helps you to find lengthening up. Maybe reaching a bit more up through the right side, connecting your right thigh and that feeling there into your shoulders and arms. The left side can go up as well. Exhaling, hands down onto the bricks. Tucking the toes under, inhaling, lifting your back knee up and curling forward. So you can relax your head down at the same time. Think of rounding your ribcage away from your thigh. You'll feel more in your front leg probably. Exhaling the back knee down. And how does it feel to pull the fingertips towards the back of your mat, lengthening up and forward through the upper back. Exhale, curling again. Inhaling, finding length, shoulders pull back. Let's do that a couple more times. So what helps to find this sense of lengthening through the torso, the spine? Pushing through your front foot to come up again, find your tiptoes, and then why not get a balance in there? Just taking the leg back and all the way forward again. So you can tap the foot down whenever you need to. Just have a bit of a wobble around. Notice the bum's very helpful in this movement as well, squeezing in, and then bring your leg back down. And you might like to take a moment in a child's pose and let your hips sway from side to side. You might like to move into a down dog shape. Breathe into the sides, into the low back. Feel that lengthening through your spine with bent knees, maybe a bit of a pedal. So a few things you can try. You could do a bit of both, going into a child's pose, back to a down dog, and back again. Let's shift to lying on our fronts, so moving everything out the way. Just come to lying down on your tummy, resting your forehead on your hands, let your hips sway a bit, and just check in with how this prone position feels in your body. If you start to feel discomfort in your lower back already, this is probably one to leave for now. Just skip this next movement and come back to it another time. Otherwise, just in this position, you can start to feel how you can tilt your pelvis here. So coming back to that pelvis tilt again and again in so many positions. So it helps us to really feel and control what our body's doing. So you could even take one hand to your lower back and see how it feels to press the pubic bone into the mat. You can squeeze the base of the buttocks, so it's that co-contraction of buttocks and tummy muscles again to find that lengthening through your lower back. And then let that go, let the lower back arch. And then again a squeezing in the base of the buttocks, press the pubic bone down. It's almost like the base of the pelvis goes heavier and you can straighten out that lower back. So just see how that feels a couple of times. And it's that straighter back position that can be helpful in lots of these lying down poses. And then with that sort of lengthening feeling in your lower back, you can also just take a few breaths there, because your tummy's pushed into the floor. This is a nice position to feel movement of breath in the lower back, in the back waist. So it can be a good place just to take a few breaths and think of inflating your lower back with the inhale, And letting it soften as you exhale, inflating the side waists. It gets easier to feel with practice doing that there. Okay. And let's come up onto our forearms into Sphinx pose. So the first thing when we get into this is to lift your belly button away from the floor. So already that gets that posterior tilt, gets length to the lower back, so there's less kind of compression there. Okay, and then from there just start to spread your hands and pull your elbows towards your waist. So they're not going, arms aren't going to move much, but you feel like you're dragging your elbows to your waist, belly button lifting up, and then see how it feels to lengthen your upper spine forward and up as the shoulders pull back. So it's a small movement you don't want to overdo. You're feeling like your torso stays straight on the diagonal like a piece of wood rather than too much of an arch. So the belly button lifts up, pull your arms towards you, take a couple of inhales, exhales there. As you inhale, feeling the thoracic spine lengthen up. And again, watch for the neck, trying to help and do more movement than perhaps we really want it to do. We're trying to isolate more the upper back. And then when you're ready, relax down. You can curl under. Even if the hips up a bit, find a bit of curling. Coming forward again, belly button up, pulling your elbows to your waist. How does it feel to just pull the shoulders back, lengthen the sternum and the upper spine forward. Relaxing whenever you need to. You don't need to hold it for long. And last one. And if it really doesn't feel good to work that lengthening forward too much, if you start to feel a bit uncomfortable in your lower back or just not sure of it, you just don't need to do it very much. Just kind of lift the belly button up, hold this position, think of the elbows pulling to the waist without moving any further. Just hold that and just feel this shape for a bit. And we'll build on that in the next few classes as well. And then have a little relax down. It might just be lying on your mat. If this is comfy for you, you might want to push back to a child's pose or just come to sitting down. So a few breaths there. And then we're going to build a platform. So if you haven't got blocks at home, just get some books. So you're kind of looking for an even height. And make yourself a platform, blanket on top. And there's your block. We're just going to come to sitting with our legs in front, bending up your, let's do the right leg first, bending up your right leg and hop your foot over. Then using the grip of your fingers on your knee to lengthen up. And also just letting the spine round back. Let your chin drop to your chest. Just hold that rounded position, the back of the neck long. Breathing there. And then shifting to the top of your sit bones, pulling on your knee, lengthening yourself up. Shoulders can drop down. Think of lengthening up through the crown of the head. So again, we're finding length without other parts of the body, certain parts of the body trying too hard. So not popping the chest forward or taking the chin up too high. Can we just feel this evenness? Sit bones as the base, lengthening through the whole spine. Shoulders can move down and extend up through the crown of the head. As you take an inhale, you can find this nice widening breath, front, back and sides. And as the shoulders pull down and you pull on your hands, can there be a sense that there's this upward direction through the upper spine? And curling down when you're ready. And refinding that position. The chin might lift a bit. And then from there, hug your left elbow around that right knee, right fingertips behind. Use the pushing of the arm and the knee into each other, much like we did with the head earlier, using that resistance to lengthen up. And then we're just going to think of turning the rib cage, so just feeling the rib cage turn to the side, and then the head might follow. You could close your eyes, just take a breath there, noticing any sensations in the upper back. The left might be different from the right. And if you want to let the neck do a bit more rotation, the neck has that capacity, you can do that. Back to centre and relax down. Let's do one more this side, hugging the knee, hand behind, finding that even lengthening up. Rotating the rib cage to the side, nice and slowly, so you kind of feel as much movement as possible. How much is enough? It doesn't need to be a jamming round as far as humanly possible. What's enough rotation to breathe into, feeling your upper back, the back of the ribs, wherever you like to move your head. I'm just doing it in this simple way for today. And back to centre. And then we'll swap sides. Okay, so to start with, just playing around with that curled feeling. Chin down, back of the neck, stretching, moving the head if you like, and then slowly finding your length. Sit bones as the base, shoulders pulling down, reaching through the crown. And noticing that evenness through the spine, no hinging in the mid-back, and then curling again. And I'm wondering if after today, all this lengthening, will you feel a bit taller today? Will the feeling of your upper back be any different from normal? Things to watch out for. Okay, finding that length, elbow and knee pushing into each other, other hand behind. You can inhale yourself tall, and as you exhale, rotate. Still pushing that knee away from you. What do you notice in the left and right sides of your upper back? Where does the neck want to go? Back to centre and relax. Last one. Tall. Turning to the side. Torso leading, head following. Breathing into sensations in your back. And back to centre. Unwind. And we're going to come to lying down for one last posture. Okay, so let's come back to lying down with knees bent where we started. And rest your hands somewhere on your body. Feeling again the contact of the back body with the mat, the soles of the feet, the pelvis, backs of the shoulders, back of the head. Feeling that movement of breath under your hands, feeling that contact of hands with breath. Possibly with an inhale, you might just be able to feel that contact and grounding in your body at the back again. It's always nice to stay here for a little bit, enjoying that feeling of kind of rest after the effort. The mat is a place the body can drop into and relax after the effort, with perhaps some heightened awareness of feeling, maybe through the whole back body. And then from there we're going to roll onto our right side, so you can stack your knees bent, reach your arms out to the sides, and let your head drop down to the mat. You may want a blanket under your head, that might be more comfortable, so you can try that. And I'm just going to reach the left hand over the right, so the fingertips are on the floor. And then start to just gently trace your fingers on the floor, up above your head. So you're just feeling the contact of fingers and tips to floor, till your arms above your head. If you need to bend your elbow, do. And then as the left arm goes over to the left, you might need to lift your left knee up as well, possibly planting your left foot on the mat. You're trying to get all the way till that left shoulder grounds down. And with an exhale, you can drop down into your chest, your shoulders, breathing there. You could turn your head to the left or keep it straight. But you'll notice you're in this rotation again through the upper body, but one way you can ground a lot more. You might notice if you're holding your rib cage up away from that and whether it could drop down a bit more. And then let that left arm drop down onto your hip, trace along your leg, and go back to being on your side again, and we'll do that movement one more time. So fingers reach forward, left hand goes up and over, maybe bending the elbow, maybe lifting up the left knee, grounding through your left shoulder, dropping your breath into your chest and arms, dropping down through the ribs, tuning into the feeling of grounding. And when you're ready, shifting over to the left side, stacking yourself sideways, knees bent, pulling your left hand over the right hand, tracing the fingertips up and over. Right knee might lift, right shoulder grounds, right neck, head might turn to the right. Dropping through the ribs. And one last time, making your way back. So moving your hips and legs as much as you need to feel a comfortable planting through the arms and shoulders. A sense of releasing to the floor as you breathe out. And then taking your time to centre back on your mat and prepare for rest and integration at the end here. So wherever you like to have your hands, it might be on the body, you might take them out to the sides. Adjusting the palms up to find that grounding through the backs of your shoulders, the backs of your rib cage. Arms might be, legs might be straight or bent. And again, tuning into your breathing body, using that awareness of the breath rhythm to stay present in your body as you rest. And coming back to that as you need, as you find you might float off. And allowing yourself this small space of time to rest and be quiet. Outer body relatively still as the breath moves you. And if lying down isn't working for you, feeling free to roll to your side or even roll back up to sitting quietly. So resting in a way that is working for you today. And when you're ready, in your own time, start to find a little bit of movement through your body, connecting perhaps to your breath rhythm. Taking your time to roll to your side or make your way slowly back to sitting up. You might want to sit up on a block, lift the hips, and just feel the movement of your breath again in an upright position. Let your blood pressure readjust. And just taking the last minute to feel that transition from a little bit of quiet and being still before you shift and go back into your day and you're more outward focused. So it's up there, wherever you like to have your hands, it might be on your thighs, it might be bringing your palms together. And just feeling an inhale, a slow expansion. And a lovely exhale, let your head drop down. Whenever you're ready, starting to open your eyes. And lifting the head back up. And thank you for your practice today.